Hello. Hello again. Another day on stream. Tired. Very tired. But good. Very, very tired, but good. How are you? What's been going on? It's lovely to see you here. Thanks for coming. Um, just getting back into it. I'm gonna try. I think Tuesday and Thursday. The 2 days that start with T are gonna be the days that we go with. Um, but getting things sorted out, it's getting easier to wind into work mode. I'm getting things, I've got the Stream Deck dialed in, at least as dialed in as I need it to be. I've got the chat window up. Yeah, it's all coming along fairly well. And then, of course, we have where we were the other day. I'm really happy with this. I've quite enjoyed. The more I look at it, the more I like it. And again, I think I want to keep drilling in this idea that it's gonna just brick my phone. I use the brick to cut out all the social media on my phone. I'm just gonna turn the lights on. There we go. I am gonna I'm gonna sort out a bit of light. I'm not a huge fan of the. I've got a big photography light right there, but the catch is that it bounces off the table, which is fine. Like it's not a big deal, I guess. But yeah, things could be better. Maybe if I get a. So I actually got a little bit of engagement. When I say a little bit, I mean like 3 likes on photos of this map that I put up on Facebook. I think people still prefer pictures. Pictures are good granular information that you can get a lot from immediately, as opposed to like video is good, but I think video is also a time commitment, especially when we're doing long form video like these are. I mean, on Tuesday I did a relatively short stream, and it was still like 2.5 hours long. So yeah, I think photos seem to be where it's at, and I've got a little set up for taking better photos that I can just strap to this mic arm, and then I can take properly aligned photos. It was a bit fucked up last time. I've also got 2 like wide throw LED work lights that I can light up the map from like the sides instead of the like above, which tends to cause lens flares and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so we're working it out slowly in the most chaotic, weird fashion that we can. And in the meantime, we just carry on with mapping. So we're going to get our little Hallow back. And I think after I've sort of mapped in Hallow, I think it might be time to maybe just play it a little bit fast and loose again. Yeah. So we got the farm, we got the outer district, now we're going on the bottleneck. Okay, so we're in the bottleneck, just in here. So we've got the big telescope. I'm pretty okay with all of that. Look, we've got a natural roadway sort of coming from the farm, which is kind of the main purpose of the outside. And then there's a lot of buildings around, but they're also not super dense. Got a couple of groves of trees. There's some weird stuff on the sides. I'm actually really digging the way that Hallow is turning out. So I'm actually going to start now. Let's begin with a little bit of the border between the outer district and the cavern. The bottleneck provides a vertically inclined and thus at least theoretically highly dense housing area for the main bulk of Hallow's populace. Most of the citizens live here in fairly staid and responsible dwellings. There are occasional flourishes throughout, although the city is still in its infancy, and thus the entire area can sometimes feel like a newly constructed bordello on the shores of a Horondozi harbour factory, as one new resident described it. So, that is saying to me that it's high, at least theoretically high density. So we're going to have, there's going to be a lot of overlap here, and I'm imagining that it's actually going to be quite vertically inclined. We're going to have a bit of a, and there's also going to be I think there should be a gate, at least a gatehouse at the side there. We're going to have we've already done the representation of the big telescope, although I think that one could be a little bit better. There we go. A little bit more even. And that is actually going to be situated right over the front door. Yeah. And then we have... So I'm thinking the bottleneck probably goes sort of down to about here. And then after that, it's the inner city, the inner cavern. So this is all. So my image of the bottleneck is that it's quite crucial to the city. This is sort of where the main populace live, but I'd imagine that We're going to put a weird obelisk in here as well. But it's still, because the city is so new, it's also going to be like it said, like a horrendozy bordello, like quite, like I keep thinking again in Australia, always the caveat that I say it's in Australia. I've never been to another country, so I don't know if this applies to other places. Like, it's, I don't want to be one of those guys that is like, oh, fuck this place, it's a hole, but like he's also never been anywhere else. He's just saying that. I actually quite like Australia, but we're getting off topic again. We'll put in a couple of round buildings, hey? I think what the idea is, like, there's the McMansions in Australia, right? I know it's a bit of a thing in America as well. Like this, it's like these large, from what I can gather, relatively cheaply made, like sort of quote unquote luxury houses, but it's all hard lines and bare concrete and exposed metal and, you know, like these sterile lawns, like a person who has no appreciation for nature. It's their idea of like what a nice house is. I don't quite know how to describe it, but yeah, it's very, like, I'm kind of feeling like that's what the bottleneck is a little bit. It's this high density area. It's one of the safer places in the city because it's inside the cavern. But it's also like the flourishes that you see that give the place its personality are more the exception than the rule, right? They are, yeah, I've always been fascinated with, like, again, this Australian culture where we like to think of ourselves as rough and tumble, and it's all quite, you know, we're the Aussie battlers and all of that, but then we love living in highly policed neighborhoods where, you know, if you put your rubbish out too early or take in your rubbish bin too late, that's a cause for concern. I think an element of Australian culture is that everyone's crazy, but they're comfortable with their own craziness. I know quite well off people who have exactly the same problems as some of the poorer people that I know. And but they would, if you said that to them, they would be like, "Oh no, like we've got our own stuff going on," and you'll be like, "But your husband's cheating on you. Like, you're in a quote unquote like open marriage." The point is that there's nothing wrong with that. I've come in hot today. Not that anyone's watching, but yeah, it's, you know, they'll pass off infidelity as like, oh, these crackheads, they're all rooting each other and whatnot, and then you'll be like, yeah, but your husband's your husband's like one dude was rooting his wife's sister and had been for years. But because he was like, I suspect if he wasn't then, he would now be a millionaire. Which is not like that. That's like upper middle class these days in Australia. Like it's not. Back in the day, if you were a millionaire, you were fucking like flat out rich. Now I think it's not. You're not quite rich. You've just got. You're living very comfortably. If he's not a millionaire now, or if he wasn't when I was hanging out with him, or at least his wife, he would be now. And he'd been rooting his wife's sister for years, and like everyone, it was like an open secret. I'm pretty sure she knew about it, and everyone was just sort of cool with it. Like, but to hear these people talk about like people who were not as well off as them, you'd be like, are you like to the point where I'd have conversations there, and I'd be like, are you actually aware of what your husband is doing, like, or are you not? Are you genuinely not aware? And so so now we're in this weird situation where you're paying out, like, again, lower class people who of which I am one. Like, this has been another weird thing for me because I'm, not everyone would agree, but because I'm relatively well spoken, at least compared to other people of my income bracket. You sort of get, like, I get access to people who are a lot better off than me. It's very strange. Anyway, I think we might just. I really like this stippling. Actually, I'm quite enjoying just doing little patterns like this. Maybe I need to. And I'm really liking this Kuratoga. I think this is a thing with acquiring gear, right? They call it gear acquisition syndrome. Oh, you've got gas. It's this. I bought this. So I got given the plastic Kuratoga. And I really like it. It's very rare that I don't like a drawing or a writing implement, but I got that and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I want a metal one. And like I say, and then I had it on the shopping list, and then I was looking on Amazon, and it was like it's $40. Like, what the fuck? Like, they normally sell in Australia. I've seen these go for like $160. That's a very bad week, but I was like, $40. I've never seen it that cheap, and so I bought it on a whim. And I don't think I had the money, or at least it was tight. But then I got it, and I was like, oh, it's heavier than the plastic one, and the barrel's narrower. And it's not the first time I'm using it, but it's the first time I'm doing like something of this scale with it. And it's been fucking lovely. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I know this is another part of it. Part of these streams is just me kind of like nutting out, like, all of these things for myself, right? It's just a bit of a draw and a bit of a chat. Yeah, look at that. Oh, I like that. You'll see it better when I ink it. I'm going to ink all of this on stream too. That's the really fun part. I actually, yeah, really enjoy inking. I'm feeling a lot better now too. Anyway, um, yeah, but and then I'll use the plastic one, and I'll be like, oh no, this is all I need. This is fantastic. And then I'll use occasionally I just use like straight up plain leadies, and again, like I bought one of these Eternal pencils, and these are all things that I sort of want to play with on stream, right? Like this is part of I bought one of these things, the Ever pencils or whatever they're called, and I've not used this one very often, but I bought it for like $3 off. I'm pretty sure this one came from Temu. It's not the only one I own, but it's either this one or I think I only own two of these, but yeah. And I really enjoy these as well. Is it meant to not ever screw in? Oh no, there it goes. Yeah, I've got I've got lead holders, and I've got rot rings and all sorts of things. I mean I have overloaded, but I don't think I've quite gone nuts. I haven't. I think I've maximized without hoarding. I think that is not true for paper. Paper, I've got fucking scads of paper. I think it's because I reuse a lot of paper. Anyway, what are we doing here? I'm also still drinking a shit ton of tea, which has been better than energy drink, but it's also been an adjustment for me. And I'm also thinking about getting another. I'm also thinking about getting another thinking, so I'm refining the process again, because I'm noticing in this article, the article is very useful. The article that I just wrote out is very useful for moving forward with this. Oh fuck, that's pretty hot. Whew. And I promise I'll come back to the sentence that I was halfway through before. It's been useful for sort of moving through these areas and whatnot. What it has not been, I'm going to have to change a lot in the article based on this map. So I think the idea is to get the broad strokes, like in an article, just do the headings up and then do the map and then go back and block in the article instead of blocking it all in. Anyway, there's a little bit of a refinement to go on there. Now we're going to do the inner. So we've got the inner and then the church cavern. I think what we're going to do Okay, I've got it. So what we'll do is from here, so the church cavern, the church cavern is up the back. And this is going to be a special sort of rock or region or whatever that the at the back of the cavern. And I'll state right now for the record, this is going to be inspired by, first off, Iridium from Borderlands and the mushroom biome from Terraria is where I'm getting the pattern for that come from. Got a little cavern off to the side here. That's going to be for the weirdos. I feel like that's going to be the Abyssal Mendicants jam. And then we've got this back here. So we're going to say... So that's the main gateway through to the church cavern. And the church cavern is going to be this huge natural area. There's gonna there's gonna be sort like, I'm thinking kind of like a big Central Park area, but kind of fucked up and spooky and whatnot, right? This has got a whole bunch of I think we said they were low rounded huts in them. So we might have a couple of weird buildings. Sort of, I'm imagining there's like a bit of this slopes up. There's the bottleneck, and then it begins to slope down into the cavern floor. And then they're rounded, so there's going to be that's good. And we're gonna say that I want there to be something special in the middle, like actually, this might be good. Let's bring out. I've also got a minor addiction to pencil cases. I've literally got about 5 pencil cases down here. Admittedly, they're all full of some of them have got coloured pencils in and textures and crayons and stuff, just shit that I've accumulated over the years. This one's the only one with quote-unquote mapping stuff in it. So, yeah, it's another thing I kind of want to... Always gets me. My mum writing my name on there. It was Bodie, great, year 6. That's my... I'm using the same same compass that I used in grade 6. Pretty sure that's the only the second bit of lead that's ever been in there too. I want there to be like a... Oh. No, that's good. There you go. Yeah, and we'll put in... So there's... I feel like it's going to be a crater. Not one of the weird things I want to play with is the idea that none of it sort of makes sense. There's a crater in the floor, but it's closed in from the roof. It's up against this... Like it... This is in the graveyard fence, which is the chain of mountains around Heaven's graveyard. There's a lot going on geographically. But I think it all adds to how cool everything is, you know? And then there's just... So I would say maybe these are... There's a big triangle house in the middle, which I'd imagine I'm thinking like an open-sided sort of stupa, S-T-U-P-A. Like a bit of an agora, sort of, I don't know, something exotic, something that's more than just, there's a castle in the middle. And it's where the representatives can negotiate. That's where the Council of 30 meet, right? And then there's these weird little, like, these are the lotid or hemivore huts of the people that sort of... that were here before, long since abandoned though by the time Hallow was incepted. Yeah. And people have moved in and made it their own. What I was going to say before, I think I need a new teapot. Not because this one's bad, but because this one's so nice. And I've been moving it around a lot. It's almost been like a fucking water bottle. The way it's been going on. Ooh, that was... Ah, fuck ya. Clumsy. You clumsy bastard. Yeah. Now we've established that staircases down here don't have sides, so actually, why don't I just make it a big gallery? And then we'll have one side step off. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Yeah, I've been walking around with this lovely teapot, and I think I don't like the idea of dropping it because it's ceramic and it'll break, and I love it. I love the look of it. It's just something nice, right? Like I've lived. Part of the weirdness of this life is that I've, I mean, look behind. Like, my room is a fucking storeroom. I don't hang anything on the walls because it's a rental, and I've got I tried hanging stuff up with blue tack, and then the air conditioning dehydrates or de-sticks the blue tack or whatever, so then it falls off, and you can't use double-sided tape. Although I've recently learned how to take tape off double-sided tape without damaging the paint. But then here I am. I mean, there are no fewer than, I want to say, 20 working components to get this streaming setup worked out, right? And I managed to assemble all of this. Like, weirdly, the microphone. I think the microphone and obviously the computer were probably the most expensive parts of this, but everything else was probably had for under $100 a pop. So you end up in this weird situation where, like, all of your electronics are like super cheap but also reliable and fine and cool, but the rest of your life is shit, you know. And it's just nice to have nice things in that area of my life. A nice teapot, a premium pacer, things like that. Like, I like sitting here with the teapot, but I think for carrying things around, we might have to work something out. I might have to get... I was thinking like of getting like a metal one with an insulated handle or something. I don't know. And then the majority of this internal part in here is going to be refugee camp. So refugee camp and the entertainment district. And again, they specifically have the entertainment district in the cavern so they can cut loose. This is another thing, like, maybe I wrote... So my first novel, I've thought, oh, it's almost a fantasy novel, in the idea that, like, when you... It was like I talk about, like, the main character needing a job, and he just goes and gets one. And it's like, yeah, what a fantasy. What a fantasy to have. I feel like this is... Like, there's shades of that coming in here, because the entertainment district is right next to the part of the town, specifically because I feel like the town planners have gone, yeah, we're up against it. We're in a really bad situation, but this gives us hope. So let's have it right in the guts of the city, so then we can cut loose and have some fun and not worry about, like, the fireworks accidentally, like, puncturing the Aegis of Drain. It's, like, all enclosed in the cavern. And then they deal with it from there, right? I'm going to make this whole area a massive chunk of these humpy huts. Yeah, so I think that's sort of the fantasy, because normally I feel like, I'm not an authority on every single fantasy world that's ever been built, but normally it's like, ooh, all the seedy shit happens, like, out on the edges of the world. And that's not to say that seedy shit doesn't happen out on the edges of the city. The Rilke Farm, some would argue that's the dodgiest place in the city. But I don't know, just the idea of what does a post-apocalyptic Dark Ages medieval entertainment district look like? And people go, oh, they're shredding on the loot and stuff, and it's like, what are some interesting things? Like, again, I think it's very freeing to go, okay, they have electronic instruments. What does that look like in this world? Like, what does that look like? What are the implications that has? And that's where the fun of it comes from, right? Like, I don't know. I've said before, the you you know the Burger Krieg. Shout out to the Burger Krieg. I know he's floating around, and I haven't actually watched heaps of his videos. But the idea that the world building being too good was one that I did resonate with, because yeah, the world doesn't make sense a lot of the time, right? Like, yeah, look at this. I'm really liking this. And it'll probably take me about 3 days to ink this fucking thing in, but that's also part of the fun. I quite enjoy inking things in. Yeah, this idea, the world building being too good, because if everything has a reason and everything makes perfect sense, then you sort of deny yourself a lot of the flavor, right? And the real world doesn't make much sense. There are things going on in the world, literally as I'm speaking, that don't make any sense to me or anyone with half a brain. And I think it's becoming increasingly clear that it doesn't have to make sense, because the people with the power and the, not even the power, but just the get up and go, like they can just do the thing, right? They could just do the thing. So, which they do. Which they do. And I'm not even saying that everything that's happening in the world these days is necessarily, like, it is easy to be doom and gloom about a lot of things, but there's always hope around, you know? There's always hope somewhere. AI. AI, as near as it comes, as silly as it is, AI will have good applications, but we're applying it completely wrong now, and we might end up destroying the fucking planet for it, trying to get it to work. And if we don't destroy the planet, we're probably going to destroy our culture as we know it. But the AI itself will have a use. And I know, I'm not saying, like, I think it absolutely needs to be kept away from art, anything creative. Don't put it in there. We also shouldn't be shoving it into absolutely every single thing. I don't need a fucking... What the hell? Oh no, it is... Okay, we are on Brisbane time. I don't need Microsoft Word to have an AI in it. I kind of like the idea of just having these big huts around, right? There's like these big, just singular huts that are kind of imposing. Yeah, it seems like the sort of thing that would have. It's I feel like technology advances. Like I think of CDs, like CDs were invented, exist, all of that sort of thing. And I feel like if CDs were invented now, like we'd be running around going, "Oh, let's put CDs in our phones and let's put CDs in my refrigerator needs a CD player. My air fryer needs a CD player. Let's put a CD player in the wall clock." No. CDs are good for CDs are good for music. CDs are good for data. Those are the only things you need them for. Just use them for storage. Like put them in a car for the music. Got to have your tunes. I don't need CD players fucking everywhere. Like I know it's not a watertight analogy, but that's sort of what I feel like is happening. Of course, we also didn't have resource emergencies and resource crises going on either. So these are if CDs were going to destroy the fucking planet, if it cost a glass of water, and I know CDs, like manufacturing anything has an environmental cost, but if you could order, if you put CDs in everything and it costs a glass of water to make each CD, and then you make it so that people can use CDs at any time of day, at any time of night, for anything at all, whether it works or it doesn't, and you spend a cup of water each time, people would be like, no, fuck that. Fuck that. Yeah. There are applications for it, but it's going to be a very niche. Like I'd love to see in 50 years, it's like, yep, we've got our AI automating the tax system, or automate the fucking tax system, and like, not even CEOs. I'm not even willing to acquiesce. CEOs shouldn't be paid as much as they are. They've gotten in, and they're taking the piss a little bit these days, I think. But don't even automate the CEO's position. We don't need that sort of thing going on even. But like, there's going to be one, like I say, like CDs had. I know that CDs aren't a 1-to-1 comparison for AI, But CDs have a very specific niche case. Any technology does, right? There's no ubiquitous technology. These mobile phones have come pretty close, and even then, it's only because they're a gestalt of like 50 different pre-existing technologies, right? It's got 3 cameras in it, a GPS, a phone, a typewriter, a this or that, another one, but they've come close, but even they're not a universal sort of technology. I don't know. I don't need a phone when I'm driving my car. I don't need a fucking AI in my car. Man, this is the life, eh? Drinking tea, drawing little tiny circles. Yeah. Oh, I've got one. What if we did a... You wanna obey the rules of world building that you set up. Just enough to give it, like, hang the meat off the bones. But then you also want to disobey them enough to make them make things interesting, right? I mean, I'm even fucking up a bit here. These ones are getting a little bit messy, and I think it's because I've extended my arms so far, which is interesting. But it also, yeah, some of the circles, the tails of them are a little bit loose. But that gives us a little bit more character. Even just the line work is having a little bit of character, which is nice. The landmark is having the characters. Gonna put a little stippled bit in here. The part of the reason I'm finding this so satisfying is because you can feel the Kurutoga engine actually kind of clicking back and forth. Kind of like that. Alright. Alright, we're filling it in. It's looking different to how I thought it would, but that's okay. We might do a couple of little... Yeah, alright. Oh yeah, what if we did a couple of the obelisks? And then we'll do the church cavern, and there's the two other things I want to do are the tunnels to the lower reaches. Which are not going to be... There probably isn't even a single entrance to them. Maybe I should just stipple the hole. I don't even know what the stippling is. Stippling? I don't even know if it's fucking called stippling. Oh god, existential crisis. It's just a nice little visual detail. Let's do a... Yeah. That's good. Alright. I'm liking that. I'm quite liking... Oof. Yeah, and then we'll have... So I think I want this area here will be the entertainment district. I'm just going to put a big... Marketplace. Put a very tight little cluster in here. The circles actually, like, they fit in quite well, and they just... Oh, I've just thought of... Yeah, we're going to put and then we'll put a little forest out around the other side there. Yeah, very nice. And then, because there's a bit of forest over here, we can say that this was all once forest. Yeah, very good. Good idea, Bodes. Yeah, nice. I think maybe a little bit more in here. Maybe we'll have a couple of trees in here as well. Okay. Yeah, nice. It looks a little bit messy, I know, but this is meant to be where the main mess of the city is. That's going to be the mine entrance. Yep. Okay, cool. And now we should just have to we'll do the... Let's continue with this little bit down here. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this bit, but we're going to just... Gonna do this. This is gonna be the forest, the outside forest. I didn't like that bit. Okay. Yeah. I don't know how it's showing up on camera, but it will look better once it's inked. I'm fairly sure. Oh, there's the corner. Feels a bit like a jigsaw. I tried the jigsaw the other day. What a fucking disaster that was. But I've got things sorted out for it. I've got some ideas for the jigsaw. Oh, this is nice. I'm coming to the conclusion that, again, there's this feeling that my mind doesn't quite. I've tried to take in too much, and some things that sound good aren't necessarily in the realm of possibility. What I mean by this is like writing. Clearest and most obvious example that I can sort of come up with. And I think what the idea is like writing, and it sounds lovely to write all day, every day. Um, Sounds lovely to write all day. It doesn't happen. It's very rare that it happens. It's not a bad thing. But I think the idea is that if I can't spend all day writing, why bother putting pen to paper? And I'm finding that so much, a lot of this writing, like, and I've done the YouTube, like I've binged. I'm actually in the process of quitting full blown YouTube binge mode at the moment. And I think a lot of the advice is, just do small things, or just start. That's what. Stop preparing. Just do it. And it works. It does work. Just starting does work. And my addition to that I've figured out is that the reason it works is because all of the prep and all of the part of this is me talking through it so it makes sense in my head. But part of the reason it works is because all of that planning and stuff, you end up scoping really big. Oh, I'm going to write the novel, and you're thinking in terms of like the novel. You're thinking in terms of like the world of Razgoth. You're thinking in terms of like these, like the whole project. And what just starting does is it forces you just to, like, you can't do the whole novel in one sitting. So you end up just, first off, it short circuits that, and you just end up enjoying what's in front of you. I think part of the reason I like this mapping is because it's just letting me sort of run, like, work with my hands a little bit. Yeah. But the other thing is that you stop, like, with that massive scope comes this massive sustained effort, and sometimes you just don't have the energy for that. It sort of forces you to limit the effort you put in. If you're only writing for like 2 hours a day, if I'm only doing half of this map, like, I've only got to fill up. The other day I filled up like this part of, I did this part of the map. That's, call it a third of this piece of paper. So you end up thinking, okay, well, if I can do a third of an A4 piece of paper, like, that's not too bad. Like, that's a manageable effort. If I can just write 1,000 words or a page, you know, it's another weird thing is how much the structure of the physical form of what you're working with can influence what you're doing. But yeah, just starting, I think what I'm trying to get at is that you only need that little spark. You don't need to think, oh fuck, I've got to write 80,000 words. You just need to think, oh, I just need to do the next thing, right? Just starting, I just need to get up, brush my teeth, have a shower, and then just sit down and write. And you don't have to have a big plan or anything. Like, I don't know, that's what the just start does. You can planning, don't get me wrong, there is some merit to it, but don't overdo it. It's absolutely true what they say about, you know, you can do it forever. I mean, even this what I'm doing now, you know, it's okay, but it's also not, the next novel that I'm going to write is not going to be a fantasy novel. If anything, it's going to be even more sort of hard-bitten reality than the novel that I've already written. And I've got another novel that I do say, oh, I'll write. I have written it. I say I've written it. I've probably written about 9/10 of it, but it's not. Actually, I have written the whole thing, but it does need polish, which is also incidentally exactly where the first novel that I ever wrote was, before I just decided to go, fuck it, it's done. So maybe I need to just do that with the second one as well. But yeah, it's, so this is it's kind of a distraction, but then at the same time it's also building towards something down the track. So it's this very weird paradox of like, oh, this will be a good thing to use. It's also it's really enjoyable just as a project. Like, this is another part of this, right? And look at that. That looks. I quite like. That's nailed the deep, dark, spooky forest that I was going for. And I think I might just do. No, let's leave that all bare. That's a good visual barrier. And now we can do the church cavern. I think, going to go to the toilet. Because the tea... I also need to maybe drink a little bit less tea, but, you know, we'll figure it out from there. So, yeah. Oh, we have such good chats, don't we? And it is all just me talking to myself, but I got a lot to work out. I got a lot of shit to work out, so here we are. I'm just going to go on a quick break. I'm going to go to the loo, and then I'll be back in a little while, and we'll just... I think, at the very least, I'm going to finish off the church cavern. Do something with that. I've got an idea, but we'll figure that out, and then if I've still got anything left in the tank, we'll start inking from there. Yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, and here we are back. Let's have a look at this top edge here. Church Cavern. I also like old church cavern. The large cavern reached through a concourse at the rear of the main cavern. Old Church Cavern is a peaceful place of ancient buildings and large gardens that is kept sacrosanct by agreement of every citizen. As with most things here, the purpose of this quietude is twofold. Not only does this give the city dwellers a place of respite from the outside world, but it also keeps those same dwellers safe from the occasional strange happenings that crop up here. More than one undead has issued forth from the vaunted chambers that line mirror-smooth roads. Occasionally whispers are heard on the subterranean wind, beckoning those who hear it closer, deeper. Although it is a place of peace, it is not always one of safety. So, got a few things in there. Mirror-smooth roads. Mirror-smooth roads, gardens, old buildings. So I think we're going to have to do some weird buildings. Oh, I already don't like this. Well, what if we just... Yeah, alright. Take the gaps out. Because not only are they meant to be ruined and old and ancient, but they're also meant to be, like, the architecture. I want the architecture here to be weird. Like, maybe even a different era to the Humpy Huts in the main cavern. And then we want mirror smooth roads. So I think the roads here are going to have to be properly defined. And we're going to do... do something like that, maybe. And then we'll do... and then we're going to do more spooky shit. Around the edge of the cavern. I don't know. Is this working? And I kind of want the roads. Okay. That bit around the outside isn't a road, it's a moat. And these are the roads that crisscross. No, I don't want any road completely bisecting, except for those main roads. I don't know if I like. I don't know if I will like. I think the better idea is just to have big gardens everywhere and just the ruins. So a moat. A thin moat. Somehow I don't even like the moat. It's all coming unstuck, although I do kind of like the rub marks. Give it a bit of texture. Why don't we have we'll have some spooky bullshit in here. And I think we'll have... I feel like it's just going to be like more of the marsh, right? Like, let's just do... How do I do mist? How would I physically do mist? That's something that I'm going to write down. Okay, mapping techniques. Map stuff. I'm going to put down 3D, so ISO buildings and mist. I'm doing Bushel's Extra Strong tea today, and it is quite nice, but I think I like the Australian afternoon tea better. Hot tip. I don't know, a couple of pools of water, a couple of ruins. I don't know. How do I represent gardens? What I don't want to do is do the whole spooky, like, oh, there's like a magical thing in the middle. And that's the only thing. Although I am quite liking just having random shapes in here. Oh yeah, get a little bit looser with it maybe. Concourse mirrored street. See, I wanted to do the mirrored streets, but I didn't like that. I don't do city maps. Well, I do. See, my roads are more like implied. Like, there's a road there, right? Like, you can sort of see that leading, and then there is a bit of clutter in here, but then there's sort of like, there's strips that you can kind of, yeah, I don't know. The roads are more sort of implied for me. Yeah. One, two, three. Is it too mishmash though? I don't know. I don't know if I like it. I don't want to, like, my initial thing is to do, because I don't like doing roads. Maybe could I just do lines for roads? I'm gonna write down roads as well. Maybe just single lines. Roads. Just lines. Is that all right, or like what's? do I do... I don't know. And then there's... I'm gonna make this stuff. This is the ghost rock, or the whatever weird sort of stuff this is. This is the... I mean, this is the rock that I drew to make that the cavern, right? So, and I like doing that. That was a good move. But I just don't know, like, I mean, look at how messy this is all getting. God. But this is part of the fun of it, right? See, I've done all of this shit before in other maps. You know, the learning. Cyberdyne Systems Model 101. Is that too... Nah, that makes... I know what that is. And I think once I ink it, because you use different line weights, that's another cool thing. Like, I love playing with line weights. I think that's why this stippling's so appealing, because that is... The stippling is yet another detailed sort of... The line weights were really good when I discovered the different applications of line weights. That really... I'm not going to say entertained me, but yeah, it was nice. You could sort of see why things... Because that's it. Like, again, when you're writing, I mean, it does make a bit of difference. You don't want to write in fucking Texter when you're writing a story, but like, the difference between a 0.7 and a 0.5 is maybe not as negligible when you're writing, or is more negligible when you're writing. Okay, there we go. I think we've got it. I like now that the rock's a bit more blocked in, I like that a bit more. And I can actually see colour up there. Like, I can see where colours and stuff are going to be. I don't think I'll be colouring this, but yeah, that I could definitely see being coloured. I still don't know if I like the innards of the cavern, but I guess it's... Is it too noisy? I don't know. We've ended on a... I mean, but look at that. I did all of the... So that's the innards, and we've gone for 2 hours. So that was the innards of the cavern. I think I'll keep it, at least for a preliminary. It looks a bit messy. It just looks like a random bunch of shit thrown in there, but I guess that's kind of what it's meant to be. I don't know. Yeah, anyway, there you go. So I think that's that. I think that's the end of that. That's Hallow is at least mapped. You've got the outside world, so the line of Esotere, the Rilke Farm, Wraithmere Marsh, and then the outer city. So probably the most sort of quote-unquote visible part of the city. The bottleneck, probably where the majority of the city actually lives, like the regular sort of citizens. The main cavern, which is the bolt hole / refugee camp entertainment. I'm liking that idea. And then the old church cavern. So next, what'll happen next time on Mapping Adventures. So we will take... Oh, look, there's another one of those pencils. So I'll be getting out all of these fine liners and whatnot that I've got. I'm probably actually going to have to go and dig through my various pencil cases, but I'll bring out some I was looking for some specific I'll track down the ones that I'm gonna use. I mean, this is the quote unquote mapping stuff, you know. My stationery addiction. And I will start inking all of this in. And inking is actually... So this is another thing that the Just Do It is actually really good for, because I would be willing to put money on the fact that once upon a time I was trying to learn how to map like this in pen, specifically because I was a self-declared like pencil hater, or whatever you want to call it. It was like, why would you, like, that's not again, it's not efficient enough. It's not efficient. Just do it once. Do it in pen the first time. I'm not going to go through all of that shit on stream. There's a whole bag down there. Closing thoughts. So yeah, that once upon a time I would have been like, no, learn how to do it in pen first, then you can just do it. And the two things with that, again, it's like a bit of a spectrum. It either locks you in first time, or you're going completely nuts and you've got to commit to any mistakes you make, and that scares you off, right? Do it in pencil first. That's all done in pencil. And granted, it's a pretty expensive pencil, but these are the little pleasures that's the sort of stuff that I quite enjoy. And look at what we've done here now. So next session I'll come in maybe with... There's going to be at least 3 line weights in there. There'll be one for the border, one for all of the details, and then one for the stippling. It will probably end up being, I want to say, maybe 4, because there'll be some details in here that I want to light a line for. The smaller houses might want a lighter line, and then the larger ones, yeah. So anyway, and there'll be a little bit of cross hatching and stuff involved. There'll be maybe red pen for the border lines and stuff like that. Anyway, that's what's going to happen next session, which may be on the weekend. I don't know yet. I'm trying to do this more regularly so people can actually drop in. I might do up a blog post or something. But anyway, we're building it as we go. There's a few that I also don't want to get caught up on doing a Discord and a website and a blog and all of that sort of thing when these streams serve as documentation enough. So I don't know. Having said that, I am now also going to experiment with my little... So I took some photos the other day. I think I said a few moments ago, well, a couple of hours now, I took some photos and they got a couple of likes, and it's not essential, but it was like, oh, okay, so like people don't mind photos, but the photos are also kind of bad. Again, my lighting setup, which is good for video, I think, isn't great for photos and stuff. I don't know. It's just a bit of a pain in the bum. So I've got this that I can just strap to the boom arm, the mic boom arm, and it's also quite light, and I'll just whack my phone on there. Again, I'm saying this now so I can... Yeah. So that's going to be the overhead rig. I'll put that on the boom arm. I'll use a shutter release to take a proper progress photo of this. And then I'll post that as well. And then we'll start inking as well. So again, this is just me trying to sort of state what I'm going to do, ADHD, all of that sort of shit. Final mouthful of cold tea. That's it. Time out. We're done. Hallow's drawn. Time to go take some photos. Thanks for being here. And a good day. Thank you.